Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So what we have discussed in the verse 16, anybody can rephrase? Yes. What topic we have discussed? Anybody can rephrase?
Pranam Prabhuji, this is the difference between the body and the soul, that the body is asat. There is no endurance for the body, and it will definitely destroy one day. It's destructible, and the soul is imperishable, and so that is sat and asat. These two things are identified in the text 16, Prabhuji. Thank you, Danvat Pranam.
No, chapter 17, which we were discussing now, and there's a lot of discussion about the minuteness of the soul, symptom of the soul consciousness, how it pervades all over the body like medicine pervade. There's an analogy given, and then where is the soul situated in the body, in the region of heart, and how it is spread all over the body as a consciousness, which is the medium which carry it, prana and red blood corpuscles.
Yes, that's what. I heard 16, so I didn't hear 17, so I explained 16.
Okay. Now, what we're discussing is 17 right now, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So, these verses 16 to 19, soul never changes. Material bodies always change. Soul is indestructible. So, this is the concept of these three verses. The seer of the truth, which means Shastra Chakshu, are a wise man. We may be personalists, he may be impersonalist, but they accept soul and material body. Soul is a spirit, material body is matter. Soul never changes and body always change. That is verse 16, as you said perfectly. Now verse 17 has these 6 points discussed. Soul pervades the entire body and is indestructible. The symptom force of soul is consciousness. This consciousness is limited to one's own body, individual consciousness. He can only feel the pain of his own body, not all bodies. Size of the soul is 1/10,000 of tip of hair. The soul is situated in the region of heart and cannot be asserted by any material means, because it is spiritual. Sometimes it says too small, but the too small can be measured by the ultra-modern electronic microscope, but this is spiritual, so material things cannot actually ascertain it. Soul is immeasurable, minute. Material body is sure to come to an end, and there is no doubt. It's a matter of time. It is matter of time. As soon as soul leaves the body starts decomposing. Arjun therefore must fight. This is verse 18, which we will discuss now. When someone is killed, body is killed, soul is eternal, hence cannot be slain. When someone thinks he has killed or is being killed is not in knowledge. However, this does not encourage killing others. So these two verses just we are going to read.
Prabhuji, one quick question. The soul you mentioned, it's in the region of the heart. Like it's inside heart. It's just around the heart.
It's too small. It cannot be around the heart. I mean, it's not a physical thing that we can really tell where it is situated. Usually heart means just we put our hand on the chest, this is heart. So it is in the middle of the body. It is in the center of the body in that sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What Srila Prabhupada is trying to say is that it is the heart which is the region from which the energy pervades throughout the body through the blood cell. Red blood cells provide oxygen to the body, and that is the source of the life. And this energy is coming from the soul.
Okay. this question came to my mind because there is a heart transplant.
There's also
Then
same
what
question.
will happen? Soul also go along with the heart.
Same question is asked from Prabhupada by Dr. Bigelow. He's a cardiac surgeon. Prabhupada said, well, when you change the heart, it's like that. I am sitting on a chair and you said, okay, I'm giving you another chair, then I will change my one chair and go to the other chair. It's like changing the seat. You change the heart, it means you change the seat of the soul. So when you put the new seat, soul come in the new seat. Prabhupada,
So when the heart transplant happens, say you take heart of somebody else and then replace it with somebody.
well, that you can only use that heart from which soul has already departed, and this heart is still viable, and then you put in another body, the soul of that body just shift into the next heart. That's what Prabhupada said. You change the seat.
Got it.
Verse 18. Antavante me deha nitya shakta sarirana anasino aparmeyas tasmad yudasya bharata. Now, in this verse, Krishna is asking you, stand up and fight. Why? Because the bodies belong to the eternal soul, which is indestructible and very small, are said to be temporary. The bodies are temporary, therefore fight. You are not going to kill the soul. So Baldev Vidyabhushan writes, bodies of the jiva are said to have destructible nature. Antavantaha. Whereas the possessor of the body, the jiva, sharirinaha, sharina means one who possesses the body, is eternal. Because of the very fine nature of the jiva, and because it is the knower and consciousness, this word knower you remember by now, because this our 13th chapter or 14th chapter, Kshetra, this 13th chapter, the knower of the body, there are two knower of the body called Kshetra. Kshetra means body or field of activity. And there are two knower. One is the super soul, who is the knower of all bodies, and one is the soul, which is knower of the one body. So by now we know the two words. The soul is knower as well as consciousness. The jiva cannot be known aparmeyasya by material method. Soul cannot be identified by material methods. Now, Atma is knower, the pure consciousness, rather than an object of knowledge as we know in this world. So soul is not object of knowledge. It is knowledge. Knower, it is knower. One who knows. And therefore Sat Chit Anand is a nature of the soul, and the word Chit means all knower. Sat means it exists forever, and Anand means it is blissful. So Chit means knower. Now he is the knower, he knows everything. Atma is self-revealing. It can know itself but does not know the Atma as a separate object apart from the self. Because Jeev and his body have such a nature, eternal and destructible. Soul is eternal, body is destructible. Neither the Jeev nor the body is worthy of lamentation. Because one is not going to die, other is not going to survive in any way. It has to be finished in due course of time. The body of the Jeev is created by the Lord for the Jeeva's enjoyment and his liberation, which can both be attained through execution of dharma. Why the body is given to the soul? For enjoyment. Why? Ultimately for liberation. So both can be attained if you perform your dharma. By your dharma you can enjoy also, and you can also get liberation. Therefore, as both earthly enjoyment and liberation are attained by dharma, O Arjuna, you stand and perform your Kshatri dharma. Srila Prabhupada writes, the material body is perishable by nature. There is no chance of maintaining it indefinitely. But the spirit soul is so minute that it cannot even be seen by an enemy, to say nothing of being killed. They cannot see it, so how can they kill? As mentioned in the previous verse, it is so small that no one can have any idea how to measure its dimension. And now you can add in from your recent memory, it cannot be measured by material method because it is spiritual. So from both viewpoints, there is no cause of lamentation because the living entity, as he is, cannot be killed, nor can the material body be saved for any length of time or permanently protected. Srila Prabhupada writes, the minute particle of the Holy Spirit acquire the material body according to his work. And therefore, observance of religious principles should be utilized. What Srila Prabhupada is writing, but we have discussed that the body is given to the soul for enjoyment and liberation. And both can be achieved by dharma. So Prabhupada is writing that theme here in this line. In Vedanta Sutra, living being is qualified as light because he is part and parcel of the supreme light. As sunlight maintains the entire universe, so the light of the soul maintains this material body. Well, the one, I'm saying allegorically, light also means enlightenment, which means knowledge. As soon as the spirit soul is out of the material body, the body begins to decompose. Therefore, it is the spirit soul which maintains this body. The body itself is unimportant. Arjuna was advised to fight and not sacrifice the cause of religion for material bodily consideration. Verse 19. Yaenam veti hantaram yachayanam manyate attam ubhavato na vijanito nayamanti nanyate. Or this verse says, he does not know actually. Those who think that soul kills, means like the soul is a killer. And those who think the soul is killed do not know means both do not. Ubhavato na vijanito, both don't know. The soul does not kill or get killed. Now this is the theme. Prabhupada has warning that because this verse gave the evidence that the soul cannot be killed and nobody can kill soul, so it does not permit that you go and kill people and do murder or even do keep maintain slaughterhouses. So in this verse, Krishna confirmed the indestructible nature of the soul. That person who thinks that the jiva with such an indestructible nature is killer, using a sword or other instrument, and thinks that such a jiva is harmed by the sword, does not know that Atma, the very fine particle of consciousness which cannot be cut or transformed in any way, is not a killer, nor is it killed. It is neither the performer of act of killing nor the subject of killing. So soul is not performer of act of killing nor the subject of killing. One should understand that there is no destruction of the Atma simply by separation of Atma from body. The Shruti says, if the killer thinks that he kills, or the killed person thinks that he has been killed, both do not know the nature of the soul. He does not kill or get killed, Kathopanishad. Ubhavato na vijanito nayam hanti nanyati. Same verse. And Prabhupada quote these verses, Baldev Vidya Bhushan also, to confirm that Gita is a Upanishad and what is in the Upanishad is in Gita. In the statement such as Mahinyase Sarva Bhutani, this is a Vedic system, don't kill any soul. Do not harm any living entity. The violence is explained as violence concerning the separation of Atma from body. So actually what is called violence is separating the soul from the body. So it means body is killed, soul cannot be killed. So violence means separating the soul from the body. The statement does not prove that the Atma is killer, since the Atma which is not killed exists even when separated from his body. So he has not killed the Atma. Srila Prabhupada writes, this does not mean that killing is okay. What is killed or supposed to be killed is the body only. This, however, does not at all encourage killing of the body. The Vedic injection Ma Hinasyat Sarva Bhutani never commit violence to anyone. Nor does understanding that living entity is not killed encourage animal slaughter. Killing the body of anyone without authority. Now this purport you can note, you can use to answer the violence when it is justified and when it is not justified. This and the one other purport you can note also. So killing of the body of anyone without authority is abominable and is punishable by law of the state as well as by the law of the Lord. Arjuna, however, is being engaged in killing for the principle of religion and not whimsically and by the authority of Supreme Lord. Verse number 20. This is the word mostly memorized. Najayate mriyate va kadachan nayam bhutva bhavitava na bhuya ajo nitya sashvato ayam purano nahanyate hanyamane sarire. Very famous verse. The soul is never born, nor does it ever die. Neither was it born in the past, nor will it be born in the future. It has no growth, no decay, no transform. Ajo Nitya, being most ancient, Shashvata, but not subject to aging, Puranaha. This is not killed when the body is killed. Sarire Hanyamane. Chakravarti Pad writes, eternal nature of the Jeev is here clearly proven. The first line negates the possibility of birth and death for the Jeev at the present time. The second line negates birth and death in the past and future. Therefore, it is unborn, Aja, in past, present and future. Because of no birth, it has no previous non-existence. Prag abhava. It was never time when it was not existing. It exists at all times, Sashvataha. Meaning that at no time in past, present or future will it be destroyed. Dvansa. Therefore it is eternal, Nitya. But because the soul exists for a long time, it can grow old? No. Though it is old, Pura, it is as if new, Na, for Nava, because of absence of the sixth state of transformation, birth, maintenance, growth, maturity, decay and death. They are not in soul. Therefore, with the death of the body, will it not die along with the body? It does not die when the body dies because it is not joined permanently with the body. Soul is not subservient to it. Srila Prabhupada writes, Kathopanishad, we find the similar verse. Najayate mirate vaktar vipaschita. Vipaschita means the learned say. So the meaning and the purport of this verse is the same as in the Bhagavad Gita. But There in this verse there's a one special word vipaschita, which means learned or with knowledge. The soul is full of knowledge, or full always with consciousness. The Prabhupada is saying both words, knowledge and consciousness. Consciousness is a symptom of the soul, and he is chit because he knows everything. Therefore, consciousness is a symptom of the soul. Even if one does not find the soul within the heart, where he is situated, one can still understand the presence of the soul simply by presence of consciousness. So sometimes we do not find the sun in the sky analogy, owing to the clouds, or for some other reasons. But the light of the sun is always there, and we are convinced that therefore it is daytime. So it means if we are not seeing sun in a cloudy weather, but we know it is a daytime. So we may not see the soul, but by the consciousness we can conclude that there is a soul in the body. This consciousness of the soul is, however, different from the consciousness of the Supreme. Because Supreme Consciousness is all-pervading, past, present and future. The consciousness of the individual soul is prone to be forgetful. When he is forgetful of his real nature, he obtains education and enlightenment from superior lesson of Krishna. But Krishna is not like forgetful soul. If so, Krishna's teaching of Bhagavad Gita would be useless. So now what Prabhupada is writing here is giving the difference between the soul and super soul. Soul is minute and forgetfulness is his second nature. Om Agyan Timarandasya is always in darkness. Therefore he needs enlightenment through his spiritual master, or in this case here, directly through Sri Krishna or his teaching. But Krishna is never forgetful. He is Sarvagya. He knows past, present and future. Even he knows this without even attempting to know, like some sages, they are also called Trikaladrishi. They know 3 times, past, present and future, but they meditate. Krishna has not to do it. He knows just. If Krishna is not Sarvagya, is not free from fault of forgetfulness, then his message of Bhagavad Gita has no value. That's what Prabhupada is giving argument. Verse 21. Veda vinashinam nityam. Veda means know. You know. Vinashinam nityam. It is never destroyed. It is eternal. Ya enam ajam avyayam. Those who think Ya enam ajam avyayam. It is unborn, it is undestructible. Katham sa purusha parathakam ghatyanti hantikam. Then how you say somebody is killed and somebody is killed? He who knows constantly that the soul is indestructible, unborn and without decay. Avyayam means decay. Kills no one. For how can he kills the Atma? Nor does he cause others to kill anyone. For how can he cause others to kill the Atma? Baldev Vidyabhushan says, this verse explains that one who having such a knowledge has no fault. Though he engage in war with conviction in dharma, or cause others to engage in such a war. He who understands through logic and scripture that soul is indestructible, avinashinam, unborn ajam, and without decay avyayam, kills whom and how does he kill when engaged in battle? Though he causes others to engage in battle, whom does he cause them to kill? And how does he cause them to kill? The use of interrogative means that he kills no one and cannot do it at all. Nor does he cause others to kill anyone and cannot cause it to at all. Srila Prabhupada writes, everything has its proper utility. This is the verse. you can use for violence when it is justified, when it is not justified. Everything has its proper utility. And a man who is situated in complete knowledge, that soul is never destroyed, is never born, and is never decay. How and where to apply a thing for its proper utility? Similarly, violence also has its utility. And how to apply violence rests with the person in knowledge. In Manu Santa, the law book for mankind supported that a murderer should be condemned to death, so that in the next life he will not have to suffer the great sin he has committed. Therefore, king's punishment of hanging a murderer is actually beneficial. So sometimes violence is beneficial. Similarly, when the Krishna ordered fighting, it must be concluded that violence is for superior or supreme justice. And thus Arjuna should follow the instruction, knowing well that such violence committed in the act of fighting for Krishna is not violence at all, because at any rate the man, or rather the soul, cannot be killed. So from the administration of justice, so-called violence is permitted. Now, two analogies are given. One is, a surgical operation is not meant to kill the patient, but to cure him. So, the knife used by the surgeon is not really to murder somebody, but to save somebody's life. Therefore, fighting to be executed by Arjuna at the instruction of Krishna is with full knowledge. So there is no possibility of sinful reaction. Like judge gives the punishment, capital punishment for some criminal murderer, so the judge is not doing violence. Verse 22. Very famous verse. This is an analogy. Vasanti jarnani yatha vihaya navani girnati naro prani tatha sarirani vihaya jarnani anyati sanyani navani vehi dei. A man gives up old clothes and accepts new ones, so the soul gives up the old bodies and attend the new ones. And I ask generally people this very simple question: how many dresses you have changed till now in your life and nobody remembers? So how many bodies we have changed, we don't remember either. So the soul may be indestructible, but with the destruction through war of those bodies known as Bhishma and others, which give them happiness, we will deprive them of their happiness. This is sin, Arjuna is saying. If it were not so, then scripture prescribed atonement for such killing would be useless. So the answer, just as giving up old worn clothing and putting a new clothing gives happiness, giving up an old human body and accepting a new Devata body certainly gives great happiness to the soul. And these both are actually pious soul, Durona, Bhishma, and if they leave the old body and they become the juvenile body in heaven or are liberated, then they will be more happy. The war will enable both giving up and accepting to happen new more quickly. Therefore, because the war assesses this, do not abandon fighting. The word sanyati means directly attain. Indicate that one will very quickly attain the body without even undergoing pain of staying in the womb and other inconveniences. It means he will be liberated or go to the heaven. The prescription for atonement are applicable to killing persons other than during condition of war or sacrifice. Sacrifice Brahman is doing in a yajna, there is no atonement for that. And Kshatriya killing in the war, there is no atonement for that. Srila Prabhupada writes, change of the body by atomic individual soul is an accepted fact. Even the modern scientists who do not believe in the existence of the soul, but at the same time cannot explain the source of the energy from the heart, have to accept continuous change of the body, which appear from childhood to boyhood and from boyhood to the youth and again from youth to the old. Transfer from the atomic individual soul to another body is made possible by the grace of the super soul. It means who arrange for the soul to accept the other body? Super soul. The Veda compare the soul and super soul to two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. One of the birds, the individual soul, is eating the fruit of the tree, which means doing the karma and getting the results. And the other bird, which is super soul, Krishna, is simply watching as a witness. Srila Prabhupada writes, although they are friends, one is still the master, other is a servant. Forgetfulness of this relationship by atomic soul is cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another, tree here compared to the body, or from one body to another body, because he is forgetful of his relation with the master. The Jiva soul is struggling very hard on the tree of the material body, but as soon as he agrees to accept the other bird as the supreme spiritual master, Chaitya Guru, as Arjuna agreed to do by voluntarily surrendering unto Krishna for instruction, the subordinate bird immediately becomes free from all lamentation. So here Prabhupada is saying the individual soul should search for the spiritual master. Verse 23. Nainam Chandana Shastrani. Now the second section is start. Soul cannot be cut, soul cannot be dried up, soul cannot be drowned, soul cannot be burnt. This is the verse. Nainam Chandandi Shastrani. It cannot be cut by the weapon. Nainam Dahati Pavak. It cannot be burned by the fire. Nachainam Kledyan Apon. It cannot be drowned by the water. Nasoshati Maruta. It cannot be dried up by wind or air. But just as the house dweller is destroyed when his house is burnt, when the body is destroyed by the blow of weapon, the soul should also be destroyed. Then the answer, sword cannot cut it, Shastrani. Fire weapon, Pavaka, cannot burn it. Rain weapon, Apa, cannot wet it. Wind weapon, Maruta, cannot dry it. So these are the different weapons in a Vedic time. Say Agnaya, Astar. They are not Shastra. You know, Shastra is only in a first line. Shastra means the weapons like the bow, arrow, sword, spear. And Astar means those subtle weapons which are invoked by mantra. So fire is a Astar, it's not Shastra actually. It's a Agneya Astar, Apa Astar, Maruta Astar, Brahma Astar. Accordingly, the Atma is not disturbed at all by being exposed to all these type of weapons. Srila Prabhupada says, Mayavad cannot explain how the individual soul came into existence simply by ignorance and consequently become covered by the illusory energy. Nor was it ever possible to cut the individual soul from the... So Mayavad philosophy, what Prabhupada has written, first line, Mayavad cannot explain how the individual soul came into existence simply by ignorance and subsequently become covered by the illusory energy. What it means is, one Brahma, how it is divided into so many small Brahmas. Because it cannot be cut. Nor was it ever possible to cut the individual soul from the original Supreme Soul. Rather, the individual souls are eternally separate part and parcel of the Supreme, Sanatana. So there is no cleavage. So Mayavadi theory is failure, because how the one Brahm is divided into many, how it is cut into pieces. Because they are atomic individual soul, eternally Sanatana, they are prone to be covered by the illusory energy, and thus they become separated from the association of the Supreme Lord. Just as the analogy, spark of the fire, although one in quality with the fire, are prone to be extinguished when out of the fire. In the Varaha Purana, the living entities are described as separated part and parcel of the Supreme. They are eternally so according to the Bhagavad Gita also. So even after being liberated from illusion, the living entity remains a separate identity, as is evident from the teaching of the Lord to Arjuna. Arjuna became liberated by knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. Verse 24. Achedyoyam adayoyam akaledyo ashosha evacha nitya sarvagat sthan or achalayam sanatana. Achedyoyam means it cannot be cut. Chedan means cut. Akaledyo ashosha evacha. So cannot be burned. Ayam adayaha. Ayam adayo. Daha means to burn. It cannot be cut, it cannot be burned. And akledyo, which means it cannot be dried up. Nitya, it is eternal. Sarvagata, it is everywhere. Sthanor, it is fixed. Achalo, immovable. Ayam sanatana, and this soul is eternal. So, it is eternal. Ayam nitya sanatana. Traveling in all type of bodies, sarvagata. Prabhupada's purport says the soul is also on the sun planet, in all planets, and fixed, and with a fixed form. Sthano means fixed form, and achalao means fixed qualities. So these two words, translation by Baldev Vidya Bhushan, for sthano means fixed in form, and achala means fixed in qualities. Not being affected by any of these weapons, the Atma is thus called respectively by the appropriate names: uncleavable, unburnable, insoluble, and indesicable. These are the 4 words used in Sanskrit. The word ev indeed applies to all items in the list. The Atma certainly cannot be cut, burned, moistened, or dried. The Atma is called all-pervading, sarvagata, because it accepts all type of bodies such as that of man, devata, bird, beast, and on, one after another according to the karma. The Atma also possesses a fixed form, stharam, and fixed qualities, achala. The Shruti says, Avinashi va are ayam atma anuchiti dharma. This Atma is indestructible with eternal qualities. Vardhana ke Upanishad. Eternal qualities means achaloyam. Sanatanaha in the Gita verse means eternal. The reason for this fault of repetition or redundancy of the word nitya, has always been mentioned in the verse. Will be explained in the next verse. Srila Prabhupada says, the theory of monoism means soul and super soul are one. Atma so Paramatma. Is very difficult to apply in this case, because individual soul is never accepted to become one homogeneously. It is a argument to defeat Mayavad. After liberation from material contamination, the atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spirit spark in the effulgent rays of the Supreme Personality Godhead. It means merging in the Brahm. But the intelligent soul enter into the spiritual planet to associate with the personality of Godhead. It means liberation by the devotee. The first liberation is by the Jnanis, and second is by the devotees. The word Sarvagata, all pervading, is significant because there's no doubt the living entities are all over the God's creation. They live on the land, they live in the water, they live in the air, they live on the earth, in the fire. The belief that they are sterilized in the fire is not acceptable, because it is clearly said that the soul cannot be burned by fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. Their bodies have more fire component, like we are on earth, our body has more earthly component. If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word Sarvagata, living everywhere, become meaningless. On the chariot of the sun god, there are 70,000 Valkya rishis chanting the hymns. Now, verse number 25. Avyakto means cannot be seen. Achintyo cannot be, you cannot think about, inconceivable. Avikaryo, it cannot be transformed. Ayam uchyate, it is called. Tasmad evan viditvainam, when you know this. Nanu sochitam arasi, don't lament. The Atma is not perceptible from the material senses. Avyakta means by our material senses we cannot perceive this. It is beyond logic, achintya, being understood only through scripture. By the scripture, the Atma is understood to be Jnana Swarupa, knowledge itself, and a knower of things. Satchitta, Chitta, this is the meaning of Chitta. It is not subject to the 6 changes of Vikaryo. Vikar means changes, transformation. So the 6 changes which body undergoes, soul does not undergo. The Lord, in teaching the nature of the Atma with such a statement as Avinashi, Tu Tad Vidhi, had used repetition of the word with similar meaning in order that the Atma, which is difficult to understand, can be easily understood. It means the repetition is to make things understand. Thus, this is not fault. Or, the repeated words can be explained as useful for ascertaining the real nature of the Atma. Chakravarti Pad writes, therefore Atma is described in this way, taking the description of the previous verse. It cannot be cut, burned, dried and moistened. The repetition of the word signifies the eternal nature of the soul in this section, such as use of the word Nitya and Sanatana in this verse. The statement of the previous verse, also same word, is for the purpose of precisely defining the soul for those of confused intellect. Just as one will repeat several times in order to make certain things that everyone understand. This is a dharma of Kali Yuga. This is the dharma of Kali Yuga. It means repeat, make people understand. Sarvagata, gone everywhere, means the soul goes into all sorts of bodies such as human, animal, devata, and by its karma. The other meaning is pervading everywhere, but this meaning is not taken since the subject is Jiva, who pervades only his own body. Sthanu and Achalo have the same meaning, having stability. Baldev explained Sthanu as having a stable Swarup, and repetition makes the meaning clear. Because it's very fine, it's called avyakta, not visible, not perceivable. Like mind, we cannot perceive, we cannot see that. Because it pervades the body with consciousness, it's called achintya, beyond conception or logic. Being devoid of 6 changes, it's called avikarya. Srila Prabhupada writes, as far as soul existence is concerned, no one can establish his existence experimentally beyond the proof of Shruti or Vedic wisdom. So we can only know soul through scripture. We have to accept this truth because there is no other source of understanding the existence of the soul, although it is fact by perception. There are many things we have to accept solidly on ground of superior authority. Now Prabhupada gives example. No one can deny the existence of his father based upon the authority of his mother. So mother here represents scripture and father is God. There is no source of understanding the identity of father except the authority of the mother. Similarly, there is no source of understanding soul except by studying the Vedas. Verse 26. Atchayanam nitya jatam nityam va manyase amritam tathapi tvam ma bhao nainam sochitum arasi. Now this sochatim word is coming in every verse, which means no, don't lament. Even if you think the soul is continuously born and always dies. Now this verse gives the two different philosophies which were prevalent when Krishna was preaching Bhagavad Gita. Lokayata and Vibhayata, these are the two words used. Still you should not lament, O mighty armed one. Having given his own opinion on why one should not lament for the soul, now Lord speak of the opinion of other in order to give other viewpoints. The student, knowing these viewpoints and consequently destroying them along with their contamination, should remain fixed, victorious in the Lord's viewpoint. So these points we have to logically defeat to establish Krishna's viewpoint. Theory of Lokayata, Charvak philosophy. Lokayata is Charvak philosophy. Endowed with the body such as human form composed of four elements, consciousness arises from that just as red color arises from the betel nuts. It means everything is material, mixing together, and this body is there. That body made of four elements itself is Atma, so there is no separate soul. This body is real and is subject to appearance and disappearance because of nature of the constant change, and this is known by the regular perception. The other theory, Vaibhashika theory, Buddhist theory. So first is Charvak, second is Buddhist, which means Sunyavad, zero. Buddhists such as Vaibhashika maintain that the Atma is a Vijnana Swarup, different from the body, but is still subject to destruction at every moment. In both these philosophies, there should be no lamentation for the Atma. If you cannot understand my word about the nature of the soul, then you can take the support of other doctrine, such as that of the Lokayata. In this philosophy, which claims that body is the Atma, you consider that this self, the body, is continuously born and continuously dies. Theory of Vaibhashika and Loka is both together. Therefore, you should not lament for this self, body, with such words as alas. How strange it is that we are prepared to commit greatly sinful act. Okay, this is Arjuna has said in verse 44. Driven by the desire to enjoy happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. You should not say like that. This is because in these two philosophies there is no fear of sin continuing into the next life. There is no next life. So where you will suffer for the sin? Since there is no next life, there is unavoidable creation and destruction of the selves, whose very nature is change. The Lord then addressed Arjuna with mocking tone. O mighty armed one, you being the best of the warriors following Vedic tradition should not hold such wrong views, defeating these philosophies. So Srila Prabhupada's purport of verse 27. Srila Prabhupada has given these, in 26, Srila Prabhupada has given these. There's always a class of philosophers, almost akin to Buddhist, Vaibhashika, Sunyavad, who do not believe in the separate existence of the soul beyond the body. When the Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, it appears that such philosophies existed. And they are known as Lokayika and Vaibhashikas. And the rest we have read actually. They think the body is a combination of the matter and the chemicals and something like that. And then Prabhupada writes, go a few lines below, the science of anthropology. The science of anthropology is based on this philosophy. Currently, many pseudo-religions, now becoming fashionable in America, are also adhering to this philosophy and are nihilistic, non-devotional Buddhist sect. Therefore, Prabhupada's pranam mantra says, Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschat Desha Tarane. He has delivered the people from these two, Nirvishesh and Sunya philosophy. Then Prabhupada writes, even Arjun believes these philosophies, then he should not lament. He should perform his duty, because this is just a bulk of the chemicals that is destroyed. So why to worry for that? So we are reading the verse 27. Mahabaho, because at least he did not accept theory of Vaishashika. So it's a mocking, same thing, mood. Jatasi dhruva mrityam dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmat aparihari arte natum so chitumarasi. For what is born, death is certain, body. For what is dead, death is... this is again the other philosophy, other viewpoint. For what is born, death is certain. For what is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, since both are unavoidable, you should not lament. Theory of logician. Gautam's Nyaya philosophy. This verse 27 is logic theory of Nyaya of Gautam school. The sixth school of philosophy. This is Nyaya of Gautam. The body is redundant and the Atma is eternal. Birth is combination of Atma with previously non-existent senses and body. Death is separation of Atma from the body with its senses. Because the birth and death both arise from performance of dharma and adharma. Birth and death primarily belongs to the substrata or shelter of the dharma and adharma, which must be eternal. Birth and death belong secondarily to the body. If the soul were not eternal, lasting only one life, it would not be accepted as the substrata of the dharma and adharma. Because he does dharma, get good body, bad dharma, get bad body in a hell. Because then it would have no acquisition of the result to actions previously performed, and simultaneously it would acquire effect not caused by action previously performed. So the whole theory of karma will be failure. Even in their view, one should give up lamenting for Atma. For the eternal element, the Atma, which attained birth, jatasya, by accepting a body under the law of karma, death is certain because the destruction of those karma. So at least your karmas are gone. That's good. You will be free from karma. After death, birth is certain, caused by the karma of the previous body. This is impossible to avoid, apariharya. For this reason, because Atma has the very nature of birth and death, you, being learned, should not lament. And even if you decline to fight, these people will die with this exertion of their present karma. But you will have deviated from your duty of fighting. Srila Prabhupada's purport. One has to take birth according to one's activities of life. Prabhupada is speaking same thing, karma. And after finishing one's term of activities, one has to die to take birth again for the next. So this theory which Prabhupada is discussing here is a logical theory or Nyaya of Gautam. So this is cycle of birth and death will continue until and unless one get liberation. But now Prabhupada is warning against same thing. This cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter and war. Three things. Murder is individual, slaughter is animal, and war is a joint communal reaction to the karma. But at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factor in human society for keeping law and order. This line also you note for the article to answer violence where it is applicable and when it is not applicable. So this line for law, keeping law and order. I think you should write an article after we finish the second chapter when violence is justified and when it is not justified. The battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event. And to fight for the right cause is the duty of a Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid of or aggrieved at the death of his relative since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subject to the reaction of the sinful act. So this is also subtly counteracting the Arjun's second argument of sinful act. From this purport you can take this line, which he was so afraid. Second reason. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop death of his relative, and he would be degraded due to his selection of wrong path of action. Verse 28. Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharat avyakta nidhanani eva tatraka paridevana. Having living entities are invisible in the beginning, avyakt. Avyakt means not seen. Manifest in the middle and invisible in the end. What is there to lament in this? When baby was not born, it's not visible. Now he is there and then he will be invisible. So Srila Prabhupada has a wonderful purport on this. So many buildings, they are there. They were not there. They are only brick and cement. Then buildings are made. And then again they are destroyed. So what is wrong in that? Material is there. Theme of this verse, Chakravarti Rapad writes, thus from the point of view of the soul having no birth and death, verse number 20, and from the point of the view of the body for which the birth and death are certain, verse 27, the cause for lamentation have been eliminated. In this verse, the Lord argues against lamentation using both ideas, being eternal and having certain birth and death, but with a purely materialistic argument. Deva, human and animals are not visible before their birth. However, their subtle and gross bodies do exist invisibly in potential form. From the existence of the causal ingredients such as earth, they become visible in the middle period and invisible after death. Even at the time of Mahapralaya, these bodies exist in the subtle form, subtle bodies, through the continued existence in the subtle form of the karma and other elements. Thus all living entities' bodies are invisible before birth, after death, and are visible in the interval. And Nard says, O king, in all circumstances, whether you consider the soul to be an eternal principle, or the material body to be perishable, or everything to exist in the impersonal absolute truth, or everything to be an inexplicable combination of matter and spirit, feeling of separation are due only to illusory affection and nothing more. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.13.44. 1.13.44. This is, I think Dhritarashtra left the body and Maharaj Yudhishthira was lamenting for that. He went with the Vidura along with Gandhari. So, I think the 13 is that chapter you can change. You can check this. Narad came and to console the Maharaj Yudhishthira who was lamenting. Baldev Vidyabhushan writes, if one thinks that body is the self, or if one thinks that the body is different from the Atma, there is no need to lament for the destruction of the body, since the element composing the body are eternal. This is expressed in this verse. Matter is never destroyed, the science. The original form of all things is very fine pradhan. Pradhan means the total material aggregate. Because it is devoid of all individual forms and names. So the pradhan has no bodily name, is no devata, no human, no animal. This is just materials by which bodies are made. The destruction of the names and form of the things in this invisible pradhan is called avyakta nidhanani. So when bodies are destroyed, they go back to the pradhan. They come from pradhan and they go back to the pradhan, which is avyakt. In the middle, they are only bodies in a form. The formation of the part takes place by eternal material called earth, assuming a state of having a part with belly and neck. And it's assuming the opposite state and assuming the form of fragment its destruction. So with the earth you make a part and then you break, it becomes again earth. This material, however, always remains. Earth remains. Thus Parasar Muni says, earth takes the form of part and then the form of dust particles, Vishnu Puran. Thus the meaning is, if the element is the reality, in reality remains, then why do we mourn due to grief? Paridevana. And accordingly, and accepting the idea of an eternal Atma different from the body, then one should in addition not forget verses such as Vasansi Jaranani. Drishti Srishtivad, another philosophy. Drishti Srishtivad. I have to leave. That which is non-existent in the beginning and end also does not exist in the middle, like the false images of horses or chariots seen in the dream. Drishti Srishti. Drishti means seeing, Srishti means creation. It means a creation in a mind by the dream, in a dream. The person who has woken up does not lament because of separation from those illusions. In a Drishti Srishtivad, this whole world is a dream. In this way, some philosophers speak accepting viewpoint of Drishti Srishti, refuting Drishti Srishtivad. It is actually foolish because in accepting this position, one has to accept the fault of non-Vedic theory of Asat Karyavad. Nyaya and Vaishashika philosophies, saying that effect is non-existent in cause, Asat Karyavad, maintain that God is the operative cause of the world and Prakriti is the material cause. The original cause is God and the material cause is material nature. The Vedas, however, state that God is material though through his Shakti and operative cause both. Just as the Nyayaka says that any created object has previous non-existent, the Drishti Srishtivad says that whatever one sees was previously non-existent. At the moment of seeing it, it is created. Thus, even accepting these two theories, there should be not a grief of destruction of the body. The two opinions are that the elements are eternal and continually evolve and disintegrate on their own, Sankhya philosophy. And that the middle period of manifestation is an illusion, Drishtivad. Srila Prabhupada writes, accepting that there are two classes of philosophers, one believing in the existence of the soul and the others not believing in the existence of soul, there is no cause for the lamentation in either case. Non-believers, atheists in the existence of the soul are called atheists by the followers of the Vedic wisdom. Yet if, for argument's sake, we accept the atheist theory, there is still no cause for lamentation. Apart from the separate existence of the soul, the material elements remain unmanifested before creation. For the subtle state of non-manifestation comes manifestation, just as from ether, air is generated from the air, fire is generated from fire, water is generated from water, earth becomes manifest. This is generally a creation of the material elements, from subtle to the gross. From the earth, many varieties of manifestation take place. Take, for example, a big skyscraper manifests from earth. When it is dismantled, the manifestation becomes again unmanifest and remain as items in the ultimate state as earth. The law of conservation of energy remains, but in course of time things are manifest and unmanifest. That is the difference. Then what cause there is for lamentation either in the state of manifestation or unmanifestation? Somehow or other, even in the unmanifested, things are not lost. Both at the beginning and at the end, all elements remain unmanifested. And only in the middle are they manifested. This does not make any real material difference. I think I have to go today somewhere now. So 2 verses we are still short. Only 1 verse needs a little more description. But the last verse is the culmination or the conclusion of the whole section. So I'm just quickly finishing this. So here, text 20 to 21, the soul is neither born nor dies, unborn, eternal, ever existing and primal. So there are some characteristic of the soul given in this verse 21. Neither take birth nor dies, unborn, eternal, ever existing, primal, not slain when the body is slain, indestructible, immutable. On the other side, body undergoes 6 changes: birth, remain, growth, old, produce, offspring, dwindle, and dies. So now, the verse 22, super soul. Now present body, by our karma, it gives our next body. Its analogy is changing the dress, and another analogy is 2 birds in the tree, not cut by the weapons. This is and the analogy is fire and the spark. The other characteristic of the soul, unbreakable, insoluble, neither burned nor dried, everlasting, present everywhere, sarvagata, unchangeable, avikarya, immovable, achala, eternal, as the same, invisible, inconceivable, achintya, immutable. So Lokayata, this is verse 26, Lokayata and Vaibhashika, 2 philosophies. Life symptom is combination of matter, combination of physical and chemical elements, and modern science says same thing. And this is the verse, birth, death, cycle. Cycle is act of the basis on the desire, karma. Then there's a death. Then I become old. Then we change the dress, and then we, based on our past desire, we get the another body. Soul get the another body. So soul takes accept the new body. So if he is liberated, then his cycle is broken. Otherwise, cycle will continue. Of philosophers, atheists not believe in God, and those who believe in God. So how from ether comes air, from air comes fire, from fire comes water, from water comes earth, and many things, varieties from earth are created. So there is nothing to lament. Both ways, ultimately this is the answer. So this verse number 29 is actually something which you study yourself. Next time we will go up till verse, I think it will be difficult to go till 52. But at least you read till 52. So this verse, Ascharya Pashyati means look, and amazingly hear, and amazingly describe. So this is the verse you think. Why it is amazing? Because it is an elephant, same size of the soul in an elephant, in a bacteria, in a big banyan tree, in a human being, the size of the soul is same. It's amazing to look at, amazing to describe, amazing to hear, and there are 3 reasons in every statement. So please read this on your own. Next time we will discuss this. Thank you very much. Any question or comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
That with Pranam. So I have a small question that Lokata and the Vaibhashika theories both are same.
They are different. One.
Can you explain a bit, like I'm a little confused.
One is Sunyavad, which is Buddhist, which is Vaibhashika is Sunni. Vaibhashika is Buddha. And Lokayata is Charvak. Eat, make merry, there's nothing, no soul, no another birth. Why to? This is Baldev Vidya Bhushan said, the Lokayat is Charvak and Vaibhashik is Buddhist, Sunyavad.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, 2 questions are there. One is regarding that shloka, Vashamsi Hirnani Yatha Vihaya. In that shloka, that particular word, Samyati word, that you said quick change of the body, like quickly accepting another body.
Yes.
So, this is applicable only for those who die in battlefield, or it is for
all
the souls?
For all souls. For all souls.
Okay. Means you said that there won't be any purificatory process like going through
Even going to hell, well, they will get body. That's called Yatna Sarir. Very simple thing. If you have to leave one house, you have to arrange other house. You cannot be in the street. So, yeah.
In the purport of this shloka, where 2-bird analogy is given,
Yes.
that one bird is Paramatma, another bird is soul. So one may ask this question that why we cannot accept the super soul directly as our spiritual master instead of finding a spiritual master.
He is a spiritual master as a Chaitya Guru. And the spiritual master outside is his outer manifestation, external manifestation. He is called Chaitya Guru. He is a spiritual master from within. And he guides us to accept the spiritual master as a external manifestation of himself.
Okay, so cannot a person say that I can have only Chaitya Guru?
If he is so exalted and then he can directly get direction from super soul, then he can do that. But usually it is mind which gives us direction, and we don't really know where there is a super soul in my heart. 99% people don't know what is Chaitya Guru. So how will they do that?
Another question was that this Gautam's Nyaya philosophy, which Gautam is this? Gautam Rishi?
No, this is a Gautam Rishi. This is a Gautam Rishi, not a Gautam Buddha.
Okay.
A Gautam Buddha is a Sunyavad.
Okay. Another question was that this shloka number 28, that Avaktadini Bhutani, all created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So this is something that Krishna is telling that this is the fact, or this is something that Krishna is telling just for the sake of encouraging Arjuna to fight?
This is also a philosophy, we said. This is also a philosophy, Nyaya and Vaisheshika philosophy. These are the philosophies. The theme is that matter is indestructible. The body is made of matter, and matter was in the beginning as a pradhan, and from pradhan the different bodies are made, and when the pralaya when there will be complete annihilation, all the material bodies will go and again merge in the pradhan, but the subtle bodies will remain in Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And when the next creation will take place, then again they are again born.
No, like here they are saying about, this is mainly about convincing Arjun that death is not something for which he should lament and he should fight. So to tell that, he is saying like body is unmanifested before and it will again become unmanifested. So is it not contradicting to the previous verse where they are saying that as soon as they will leave the body, they will again get another body? Means if they are getting body, it means it is getting manifested, right?
But in between there is an unmanifested stage. These are the philosophy which are only elaborately described by Baldev Vidyabhushan as the different philosophies which are given to you in a commentary. You can refer that. Krishna is not instigating Arjun to fight. He is telling them these are the philosophies which are prevalent in a public. You can think of those. Even you follow those, then still there is no question for lamentation. But you should not follow those.
Yeah. So this is Krishna's direct instruction.
I read that, if you remember. Krishna finished his opinion. Now he's giving the idea that what the other philosophies are that. And then the purpose is to defeat those philosophies.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, I have one quick question. In Bhagavad Gita 2.20, that slide, there is some more slides are like Katha Upanishad 1.2.18. There is a Vipashin. So Vipashin, there is a meaning given.
Vipashin is wise man. Vipashin means wise man.
Yeah, that's a land that district. There is one more word called Kutashin.
Kutashin means what?
Like Naam Kutashin.
What? Kuta is a question. What? Kutashin means. Kuta means what?
What is the meaning of Kutashin?
What? Kuta means what?
Oh.
Yeah, just what? It's just what? What is this? Kuta.
Yeah, Kuta. Nayam Kutashin na babuva kaschit. What is that entire sentence? I mean, meaning, Prabhuji?
The meaning is given there. Babu. I don't really. I'm not Sanskrit scholar. You look in the. I can look the meaning, but not right now. I don't know. Kutashin Babu. What to say about something like that?
Oh,
Yeah.
no problem.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, my time is over. I have to go somewhere. You keep your question in parking.
Recording stopped.
Keep your question in parking. Next time we start with questions. This is the section in which there is no word soul written in any verse. And we are discussing soul. And there is no soul as such written in any verse. This is a very difficult section. I don't know how they complete in one day. I am not able to complete. Okay, you keep all your questions, discuss among yourself, and we'll discuss next time. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitan.